Welcome back, everyone, to Season 3, Episode 7 of the Inside the Woods podcast, a Valley News show where every week we will give an inside look at Dartmouth Big Green football as they make their way through the 2025 season. I'm your host, Mike Coughlin.
That's going to do it. Big Green do not need to snap the football again, as the final 12 seconds will tick away. So Dartmouth will come away with the victory this afternoon here in the Bronx. 30-13 will be the final. Dartmouth will improve to 4-1 overall as they come away with a victory in their final non-conference game here in 2025. And now it's all Ivy all the time. The run for another Ivy title really begins now.
That was the call from the Dartmouth radio broadcast in the final seconds of the Big Green's non-conference victory over Fordham, 30-13 in the Bronx on Saturday. A missed field goal from junior kicker Owen Zalc and a fumble from junior quarterback Grayson Saunier in the fourth quarter helped the Rams get within 3 with about 11.5 minutes remaining. But the Big Green shut the door on a Fordham comeback attempt, scoring 14 unanswered points to lock down the victory. Saunier was in command on Saturday and shook off the late error, throwing for 281 yards and 2 touchdowns in the win. The Big Green also had a standout performance on defense from senior linebacker Zion Freer-Brown, who led the team in tackles with 8 and also picked up a sack. Dartmouth is now 4-1 on the year and 1-1 in the Ivy League, with the Columbia Lions coming into town for a Friday night nationally televised conference showdown at 6 p.m. While the Big Green head into this week's game winning its last 2, the Lions, who are 1-4, haven't had the same success and enter Friday on a 3-game losing streak. Columbia's most recent loss came last week, 35-21, to the same team who handed the Big Green their only loss of the season, the Penn Quakers. Dartmouth will not only look to extend its current winning streak, but also its streak against Columbia. The Big Green have not lost to the Lions since 2021. On the show this week, I already mentioned him, but I have Big Green kicker Owen Zalc, the hero from the Big Green's victory over Yale 2 weeks ago, who has won Ivy League Special Teams Player of the Week honors for 2 consecutive weeks. And like always, we have head coach Sammy McCorkle to talk about this past weekend's win and Friday's battle with the Lions. Now let's get on with the rest of the show. Joining me is junior kicker Owen Zalc. Owen was named the Ivy League Special Teams Player of the Year in 2024. Is 2 weeks removed from his game-winning 51-yard field goal against Yale, and is coming off a solid performance where he went 3 for 4 on field goals last week against Fordham. Hey, Owen, thanks for coming on the show.
What's going on, Mike? How we doing?
Good. So, first, throughout this season, there have been highs and lows in the kicking game. You missed a couple of field goals against Central Connecticut and had missed a couple against Yale before your game winner. Can you tell listeners about your thought process when a kick doesn't go through and how you're able to move on from it so you can deliver when needed the most, like against Yale?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest thing, this comes down to kicking and just kind of any sport in general. It's all about the next play. Things aren't going to go your way every single time. It's just about how you recover, how you respond. And for me, when I come off the sideline after a missed kick, I'll talk to the coaches. I'll be like, hey, that was just on me. Protection was great. Hold was great. Snap was great. Just let them know. I know what I did wrong. I'll fix it the next time and just make sure they have the utmost confidence in me, the next play. And one of the things that we do within the specialist room is you have one drive to think about that kick. So, if I miss a kick, our defense is on the field. The moment our offense gets the ball back, I have to be fully ready for the next kick. And I think just having that, those set rules where it's like, okay, I have this amount of time. I usually don't even take that much time, but just having a set amount of time to be like, okay, here's how long I can think about it, and then I just got to be ready for the next one.
Right, and, you made a comment to the media after your game winner against Yale that a teammate had come up to you and said, there was never a doubt after the game in the locker room. What does it mean to you to have that kind of trust and support from your teammates, even when things, earlier in the game, weren't going perfectly?
Yeah, it's kind of just incredible, honestly. It's a great feeling knowing that, everybody on the team, everybody in the room, they trust me. They trust me to do what I can do. And I think I've tried to, show them that that's who I am. When I'm needed most, that's when I step up. Even in that Yale game alone, it was great to hear, they have confidence in me after 2 misses. And one of them being short. Like I said, it's just a great feeling. And I think people kind of showing their confidence on the field leaks into, how I perform under pressure.
Right. In high school, you were all-state 3 times, and now at the collegiate level, you've picked up, even more accolades, like being on the All-Ivy first team in 23 and 24, and the 24 Special Teams Player of the Year honor I had mentioned. How do you think you've been able to grow as a kicker, and how do you think you've improved to be able to carry over your high school success at the collegiate level?
I think for me, the awards don't really matter. I mean, it's a great feeling, being recognized. But at the end of the day, the pride comes from winning championships. And when I can set my mindset, it's not about awards; it's about making my kicks for the team. It doesn't really change the situation. Like if I'm getting all state in high school compared to getting all Ivy in college, it doesn't make a difference to me because I'm just making my kicks. It comes down to how many chances am I going to get and how many of them can I capitalize on. So I wouldn't say. I mean, obviously there's levels, like the snapper and the holder in college. It's a different level, and I think that kind of leaks in. It allows me to just kind of continue that success. But at the end of the day, it's just about making kicks, whatever situation you're in.
Right, and just one more for you. In your bio on the Dartmouth Athletics website, it says you chose Dartmouth over, Yale and Brown. I wanted to ask you, what made you choose the Big Green, and, how have you enjoyed your time in Hanover so far?
Of course. I've absolutely loved it. I mean, I'll get to that soon, but when it comes to why I chose Dartmouth, I mean, it's Coach T. He was truly the reason I came here. He was the few conversations I had with him in person and then the many phone calls he had just to check up on me and my family. I mean, I realized he's truly a man that cares about me as more than a recruit and as more than a player. He had such an impact both on the field and off the field. I mean, it shows on a national level. He was truly just an amazing man, and he kind of set the guideline for what I expected coming to Hanover, and then it was fully met. I mean, it's such a tight knit community. I love the campus. Love everything about this place. Great academics. I have great relationships with my professors, the academic staff, athletic staff, and I can truly say this is a choice that I'll never regret.
All right, perfect, Owen. Thanks again so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it, and I wish you luck.
Appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Before the rest of the show, we're going to dig into the numbers for Friday's nationally televised bout with Columbia. While the numbers say the Lions struggle mightily to put up points, with the 115th ranked scoring offense in the nation, averaging just over 14 points per game, their defense is a whole different beast. Columbia is ranked 51st in scoring defense, allowing its opponents to score just over 26 points per game on average. Not only that, the Lions are also in the top 55 in total defense, allowing their opponents to average 371 yards per game. So the Big Green, who can tally yardage, coming in at 25th in total offense, averaging 422 yards per game, will need to turn that output into touchdowns against a stingy Lions defense, especially considering that the Big Green have turned 10 of their 19 red zone trips into touchdowns this season. Things could bode well for Dartmouth in that department, as Columbia is just the 94th ranked red zone defense, allowing its opponents to score 13 touchdowns in 17 red zone trips. Historically, the Big Green also have an edge, leading the all-time series with a record of 73-20-1. Dartmouth's latest victory over Columbia came last season on the road, 24-21. Now with the numbers and history under our belts, let's get to our interview with Sammy and hear his take. Now joining me for his weekly show appearance is Big Green head coach Sammy McCorkle. Sammy's squad is looking to win its third game in a row on Friday after last weekend's non-conference victory. Hey, Sammy, thanks for joining me.
Hey, man, great to be back on, my man.
So congratulations on last weekend's win against Fordham. Some miscues let the Rams back into the game in the fourth quarter, but you guys were able to run away with the victory in the end. What were your takeaways from the game, and how happy are you with how the offense and defense responded late to seal the win?
Yeah, no, I thought I was really, really happy with the way our guys came out in the second half. I thought we were just, much more aggressive and much more in an attack mode. And I think the biggest thing is they would, be able to bounce back after some miscues here and there. They didn't, they kept their poise and stay focused, stay locked in, and just happy the way we finished strong. across the board in all three phases.
Right, and last week I had asked you about getting pressure on Fordham's quarterback after coming up with, 0 sacks against Yale. Last weekend you guys had 3. Did you guys change anything up front heading into the game with Fordham? And just wanted to ask about your thoughts on the pressure you guys were able to generate and, your thoughts on how you guys might be able to sustain that.
No, I think the biggest thing is just adjustments we made. That's the biggest thing we have to do. They had 2 weeks to prepare for us, and I think that's kind of what happened the first half. We were kind of figuring out what they were doing offensively and defensively, and our coaches did a really good job, especially at halftime, making those adjustments. And I think players, did a good job going out there in the second half and executing. I think that was the biggest thing, just getting a good idea of what they were trying to do offensively and what they were doing protection-wise and with their schemes. And I thought our guys, and I think the biggest thing was just being much more aggressive, being much more in attack mode, and winning those one-on-ones. That's what it came down to.
Right, and now this Friday you resume Ivy League play against Columbia under the lights, which is a shift from your usual Saturday afternoon slot. Are you looking forward to a night game and the atmosphere that kind of brings? And also, how has having one less day to recover and prepare shifted you guys' usual weekly timeline?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, it's exciting, right? We get to play on national television. That's what you want to do as a college football player, is get a chance and play in front of everybody in the country. And our guys are excited to do that. And it being a night game brings actually a bit more excitement to it. And I think preparation-wise, we kind of move everything up a day. And, even like, for instance, today to us, even though it's a Wednesday, it's really a Thursday to us. But, yeah, we just shifted things up. We made some adjustments, some tweaks in practice, shortened a little bit of practice a little bit since it is a short week, just to make sure our guys are fresh, ready to go, but at the same time, making sure we get the work we need done throughout the week to prepare ourselves for Friday night.
Right. And, after last weekend's game, you talked a little bit about, wanting to be able to finish better offensively and, punch the ball in the end zone. There's been some close calls like Grayson getting stopped at the goal line against Fordham, last weekend. What have you guys been working on to turn more of you guys' red zone trips into touchdowns, especially against a team in Columbia who has allowed its opponents to score touchdowns in the red zone, 13 out of 17 trips?
Well, I think the biggest thing is we just got to execute. We got to make sure that we've got we're doing the right assignments in those situations, because especially when you get down that red zone, one little misstep or one little hesitation can create problems. And I think we got to execute better. And the thing is, we're getting down there in those situations, and we've got the guys that can do it. We just got to make sure all 11 guys are on the same page, and making sure that when we are in those situations that we can finish. And our offense is doing a great job. They're moving the ball. And big thing is now, hey, it's no difference in being at the 50-yard line. Now we get down inside that 5. Let's just finish it now. And I think, like you said, we're you got plays, you're right there. We just got to make sure we're making the right reads and getting the hat on a hat and putting ourselves in a situation to score touchdowns.
Right, and then, finally, what are some things you've seen in your review of Columbia and, both sides of the ball that you guys need to be prepared for in order to pick up a win on Friday?
No, they're going to play hard. They're going to be aggressive. Probably and that staff, they do a great job. They're going to be ready and they're going to be prepared. They're very assignment sound. They're very disciplined. They make few mistakes. So you got to be a very good job of making sure we're aware of where they are at all times. But we've got to win up front on both sides of the ball, and because they're going to be aggressive and play physical, and we've got to be able to match that, and we've got to match their energy. And so we're there's no doubt about it. They're going to come in here Friday night ready to play.
All right. Well, thanks a lot very much, Sammy, for coming on the show again. I really appreciate it, and I wish you guys luck on Friday.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me on.
And that was Season 3, Episode 7 of the Inside the Woods podcast. Thanks for listening. We'll be back again next week with the fallout from Friday's bout with Columbia and a preview of Dartmouth's next matchup, which is a big one, when they visit Harvard. If you have a question for Sammy, email sports@v.news.com. That's sports@vnews.com. Emails there will give you the chance to have Coach answer your question on the next podcast. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next week.